What up, YouTube? Bungie just dropped a fairly informative TWID today about upcoming changes to the Sandbox in Act 2 dropping next week. I decided to do a live read-through of the TWID, so here you go, enjoy. This week in Destiny, we are getting ready for Act 2 of Revenant. Only a few more days until November 19th. What better way to prepare for the new activities and story content than by sharing some of the changes coming to roaming supers? But let's not spoil everything in the intro. Here are today's topics. Act 2 Livestream Recap. Check the new artifact perks. Act 2 Sandbox Preview. Update from the PvP Strike team. Check out the Street Fighter collab. Let's do this. Act 2 of Revenant, November 19th. We hope y'all enjoyed our latest developer livestream on Tuesday. We focused on the content to come when Act 2 of episode Revenant arrives on November 19th. We shared details about new weapons, new artifact perks, and of course, our new activity, Tomb of Elders. Let's not forget about our latest collab and what the Dawning will bring this year. Okay, here's the developer live stream. I actually have a YouTube video doing a breakdown and review of the entire live stream. Go check it out. Put good work into that one. Sandbox updates coming with Act 2. Many changes are coming very soon to D2 as soon as next Tuesday when both Act 2 and our update 8.1.5 are available to players. We have some nerfs to outliers like Storm's Edge, buffs for roaming supers as a whole, and then some weapons and armor pieces getting a bit of both. Why don't we jump right in? Cool. Roaming around at the speed of sound. Howdy, y'all. Abilities team here. We wanted to take a moment to discuss a major change we're bringing with Act 2. Way back in Update 3.4.0, we outlined a change to how super energy was gained. We wanted to ensure that super energy was awarded for participating in combat through giving and receiving damage, as opposed to mainly passive generation supplemented by orbs of power. Then we supported that change by changing the cooldown tiers of the various supers based on several factors, including potential numbers of enemy defeats, which meant a lot of roaming supers took longer to charge than their one-off counterparts. With the launch of Final Shape, we moved all supers to use the same standardized damage-based recharge parameters to further bring outliers like Ward of Dawn and Well of Radiance cooldowns in line with other supers. DMG. We're not banning them, mostly inside of PvP. However, all these changes created an extremely lopsided pick rate for one-off supers versus their roamer counterparts. True. We believe the power fantasies and intrinsic gameplay of roamers are fun and integral to the core of Destiny, but we understand that the mechanics of second-to-second combat are better optimized with one-off supers. Therefore, we are taking a first step, keywords first step, at addressing that. Starting with Act 2, we will be changing the damage-based recharge parameters for all roaming supers against PvE combatants only, and increasing the amount of super energy gained when damaging combatants by roughly 3 times the amount it is today. Good lord. The intent here is that you are more likely to have a roaming super when you need it for that panic activation or to jump an enemy spawn point. In our internal playlist, we've been having a blast with extra activations per encounter or activity, and it's especially spicy with fire team coordination. As a reference, if you were using between 3 and 5 Nova Bombs while playing an advanced Nightfall, you can now charge around 6 or 8 Nova Warp activations in the same activity. We respect that super choice is an essential part of build crafting, and not every encounter or strike is a perfect fit for every roaming super. That is true. But we do think this change entices a fire team to bring a roaming super where they otherwise may not have one. In addition to this, we're upping the damage roaming supers do against champions by 30 to 55%. Interesting. This roughly brings all roaming supers to a similar damage profile against champions and will give them a distinct advantage in your next GM Nightfall over a one-off super. You can expect these changes for these supers. Hunter, Arcstaff, Golden Gun, excludes Nighthawk variant as it is classified as a one-off super. Spectral Blade, Silk Strike. It's so interesting that Golden Gun is considered a roaming super except for Nighthawk. I mean, I get why, but it's still interesting. Because it's kind of like, I guess you could call it a roaming super, but it's a really fast roaming super. Because you'd be like, done. Where was I? Titan, Fist of Havoc, Burning Maul excludes Pyro Gale. Hammer of Soul, Sentinel Shield, Glacial Quake, Blade Fury, Warlock, Storm Trance, Daybreak, Nova Warp, Winter's Wrath. No Song of Flame? No Song of My People? This is a major change, so we will be keeping an eye on this over the coming weeks and months while we keep evaluating how roaming supers are performing. See you in Act 3. It's already really good. True. But they could have made a particular mention. Electrifying, exotic, electrifying. Hey y'all, the Armor team has been hard at work on content for both our next episode, Heresy, and further out D2 Codename Frontiers, but it didn't stop us from getting changes in our update for update 8.1.5. We are overall happy with how the changes we made for Act 1 landed with players, but we think these further changes will help out a few exotics that are still struggling in the sandbox. Can't wait. We also made a change to reduce the potency of a certain hunter helmet in the Crucible. Get dunked on, Knucklehead Radar. Point Contact Cannon Brace. We felt that the lightning strikes provided by Point Contact Cannon Brace are the main focal point of using the exotic, but they lack build crafting depth beyond being visually flashy. So in Act 2, we are putting more emphasis on them contributing to your overall gameplay loop instead of relying completely on thunderclap defeats. Amplified lightning bolts now do 100% increased damage over base, up from 50%. Lightning strike defeats now also refund melee energy. Reduced thunderclap refund by around 10% to compensate for increased energy gains on average. Interesting. May have to slap that on. Raiden Flux. It is our goal that the two Arcstaff exotics, Blight Ranger and Raiden Flux, have distinct identities. Blight Rangers is rooted in defense, and we want Raiden Flux to be all about offense. However, we felt it could benefit from a little more punch, especially in harder activities. Synapse Junction super damage benefit increased to around 20% per stack, up from 14%. Okay. Max benefit now around 70% damage increase, up from 50%. Ballador's Wrath Weavers. At the beginning of this episode, Ballador's Wrath Weavers were updated along with other super damage increasing exotics to give a little more potency to Shadebinder. Unfortunately, the change didn't land where we'd like it to. Yeah. I mentioned when I read the original change, I was like, yeah, I'm still probably not going to wear them. So we are increasing the benefits of shattering targets. Increase shatter damage to 150%, huh? Up from 100. Fixed an issue where enemies were consistently getting the boosted shatter damage, which led to decreased overall damage. Increased shatter damage now shows as a yellow number to aid with visibility of the perk. That's all for now, but we have plenty of updates and tweaks to other exotics coming down the road in Heresy, with many aiming to provide more potency to our roaming supers. In the meantime, we will keep an eye on how these changes pay out. The Raiden Flux change seems good. I mean, like, all these changes seem good. Looking forward to the Raiden Flux change, but all of that sounds kind of good. Fixing Telesto. What's wrong with it now? And now a short update from the weapons team. Most of our weapon-focused updates are aimed at PvP for this patch, and we will discuss those in more detail below as part of the PvP Strike Team update, but we did have a couple minor changes directed at PvE that we think will help to add a little flavor back to some old favorites, okay? We got the Breach grenade launchers. We have heard the feedback loud and clear that the nerf to Mountaintop felt unnecessarily strong, so we have walked back some of the special limit reduction we previously gave to the blast. Good job. Don't do it again. Good. Good. It's like the whole point of the, like, yeah, you don't take away the part that we all like. It's fun. Come on now. Oh, is it? Oh, there's got to be more. Oh, no, this is just the PvE part. Right. Okay, Telesto. In update 8.1.5, we've corrected an issue with Telesto not dealing the appropriate amount of blast damage against players in Crucible. Didn't even know that was a thing. And we thought while we were there, we might as well give it a little something extra for PvE too. Increased Telesto detonation damage by 20%. Respectable. I don't know if that'll be enough to convince me to put that gun on. It kind of has a lot of competition in PvE. A lot of competition. But, I mean, 20% pretty good. I'll try it out. I'll try it out, sure. PvP Strike Team update. Hello, all. It's the PvP Strike Team here with a quick update on where things stand in Revenant. Foist. Why don't we talk about the Crucible Sandbox? Oh, they're breaking out the graphs. Everybody get ready. Breaking out the graphs. Take a sip of coffee here. When we look at the high skill primary weapon meta for the last month, we can see that Rose, Elsie's Rifle, Graviton Lance, and Bygone's Shocker have distanced themselves from the rest of the pack. Bygones alone is egregiously out of band, thanks almost entirely to High Ground. Yep. I farmed the hell out of Gambit. Side note, I think there might be double infamy going on right now in Gambit, but yeah, the High Ground, I have a keep away High Ground roll I'm looking at right now. Hold on, let me take a picture here. Yeah, this thing goes hard, man. It goes pretty hard, let me tell you. It's pretty rude. You're just like 1 meter higher than your enemy. You're like, oh, 2 bursts, get wrecked. Which we will be taking a first swing at addressing below. We will continue to keep an eye on the other top performers, but the current thought is that most of these weapons are very close to the upper end of what we want primary weapons to be able to do in their current roles. And we're more interested in bringing other options up to meet them than hammering these options down by more than small amounts. Okay. You have my attention. The Fizzle was hard farming yesterday for a Bygones. I mean, he's a trial Sherpa. I don't blame him. I mean, you can only get gunned down by a high ground Bygones so many times before you're like, that's it. Gotta fight fire with fire. While the meta has moved away from closer range engagements, we believe the consolidation around these specific weapons is due in large part to a combination of 2 things. The difficulty of engaging in the medium to close range combat windows with the current level of ability uptime stemming largely from our prismatic subclasses. True. 2, the lack of competition among our medium long-range primary options outside of pulse rifles. In update 8.1.5, we'll be buffing some more options in that engagement range, as well as reducing the amount of ability usage able to be generated by prismatic subclasses. Let's get to it. Abilities, prismatic. It has become clear that the prismatic subclass allowed combinations combinatorics. That's not a real word. Combinatorics. I learned something today. Are problematic for Crucible in a way that we cannot easily solve with spot tuning. Yeah, that is very true. While we want to keep the power fantasy for PvE, in PvP, the dominance is concerning and needs a more labor-intensive fix than we can provide inside of a mid-season patch. You have my attention. As such, we've made the decision to give all prismatic subclasses a blanket 15% additional ability cooldown penalty inside of Crucible, which should help to offset the current king-making strength of these subclasses and provide some reasons to run the base abilities on standard subclasses. Ooh. This penalty stacks on top of the current overall PvP ability cooldown penalty of 15%. Wow. Comb in at Oryx. Oh, that's the way to pronounce it. Comb. I mean, hey, come on. All right, we get it. We get it, DMG, all right? You're smarter than me, all right? Is that what you want to hear? Ooh, you went to college. I'm kidding. Combinatorics. Committing that word to memory. Improving my vocabulary. Let's go. We learn together. We learn and grow smarter together. Sometimes. Storm's Edge. Oh, I'm super excited to read this. Okay. Even within the cooldown increase, Storm's Edge Still feels like too much of a win button with little to no counterplay, even for a super. Yep. As such, we have reduced the damage resist during cast and reduced the height of the damage impulse. Oh, thank God. Dude, sometimes I'm like, no joke, I feel like I'm 20 meters above the super and he just spins and I explode. Reduced height of damage impulse from 5 meters to 3.75. Good. Reduced damage resist against players from 53 to 45%, both on cast and during spin attack. Moved from tier 3 to tier 1 super cooldown. That is so, all of that is good. I applaud. I give a firm thumbs up to that because that super is just redonky lips in PvP, let me tell you. Armor, Knucklehead Radar. The dubs keep coming. This exotic's ability to provide information to PvP players without requiring them to engage in combat and giving that information for as long as it does has contributed a bit too much to the strength of the longer range meta options. Changed how to activate the perk. Now requires the wearer to damage a player to mark the target. Target is marked for 3 seconds down from 7. Got it. Okay. All right. I mean, we'll have to, I'll take it over no change at all, for sure. It might still be strong on paper, but I will hold my thoughts. But, you know, so far, good. Good. Weapon architect. Oh, God. Bows. When we made the changes, to the weapon sandbox to generally make primary weapons less forgiving, bows were one of the first large outliers that we had to tune down. We hit them hard, good, and have been gradually walking them back to a place where it feels like they can compete in the right hands without being oppressive at longer ranges. Precision bows increase body shot damage by 10%. This change does not affect La Monarch. Oh, I really needed to hear that second part. Good. Good. Okay, sure, why not? Sure. I'm not much of a bow guy these days, but that could have been a lot worse. I will take it. Hand cannons. Oh boy. Stadia time in the chat, popping off at the precision bow change. Yay! Hand cannons. We have been hesitant to allow aggressive hand cannons to kill in 2 crits and 1 body shot natively in PvP, while Igneous Hammer remained one of the most effective weapons. But the addition of new mods on weapons that can be enhanced has served to narrow the stat gap between it and other options like criminals and something new. In addition, we now have more options than just high-impact pulse rifles that are usable in the 35-40 meter range of engagements. So it makes sense to bring the 120 hand cannon subfab. Oh my God, they're buffing 120s. Oh, today's about to be a good day. This has been paired alongside a minor stat nerf to Igneous. No! Not the ignorant hammer, as Drew calls it, to prevent it from immediately becoming the top dog again, and we will continue to evaluate its place in the meta after these changes. Aggressive hand cannons increase damage by 3%. This allows them to kill all resilience in 2 crit 1 body. Ooh, boy. Wow. And only reduce stability, handling, and aim assist by 3? That's not bad. I mean, Anno, Iron Banner is coming right around the corner. I already was planning on farming this gun. Now I'm just going to farm it even harder. The Criminal's Dagger hand cannon, Iron Banner one. Good now. Well, they're buffing 120s in PvP. This is crazy. I never thought that they would buff 120s PvP. I'm farming this hand cannon extra hard now. When Iron Banner comes, what is that, 2 weeks? 2 weeks Iron Banner? Yeah. I think they said the 26th. Whew, mark your calendars. I'm gonna be full of turkey, drunk on wine, and roaming deep in Iron Banner. Better Devils is a classic weapon with a host of interesting perk combinations, but the lower base stats have left it out in the cold. True. Even with the new mod additions. Does that mean aggressives with the Dodgio can 2-tap now? Ooh, that's right. I'll have to check on that, Icicle. Good call. I'll have to check on the Adagio. Stay tuned on that. Got to talk to my number people. Where was I? We decided to requisition Igham's stats over to Better Devils, taking from a weapon that has access and giving them to one that really needs them. Is that really going to move the needle, though, for Better Devils? Upping the stability, handling, and aim assist stats by 3. Yesterday's question has been benefiting from the aim assist buff provided by Headseeker, but not the damage increase. Oh boy. So we've corrected that issue so that we can witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational hand cannon. Good reference. Corrected an issue where Headseeker was not appropriately increasing critical hit damage after dealing body shot damage. In PvP, yesterday's question, I'm not a fan. It just doesn't feel good to me. Time likes it. I don't like it. I really don't like it. It doesn't feel good. I'd rather use a regular normal hand cannon. None of the 2 bursts. I don't like it. Adaptive machine guns have been the heavy weapon meta for much of the last episode and a half, but while they have prospered, other subfamilies have floundered. We've made a change to the scaler that determines how much ammo you can pick up from a heavy ammo crate that reduces most adaptive machine guns ammo allotments by 2 to 3 shots while increasing the amounts gained for the subfamilies with mag sizes on the high and low ends like high impacts and rapid fires. Changed the scaler that determines how much ammo you can pick up from a crate. Magazine sizes of 50 or less get 21 rounds. Magazine sizes between 51 and 59 get between 21 and 26. Mags between 60 and 80 get between 26 and 27. Mag size between 81 and 99 get between 28 and 44. Mag sizes over 100 should get 45 rounds. Okay. Oh, here we go. Perks, high ground. All told, high ground offers too much of a damage buff to be triggered on such a low barrier. For now, we have reduced the stacks that are given for dealing damage with a primary weapon, specifically against players, down to 1 from 3. This should make the damage boost significantly less powerful in PvP, but will leave the efficacy alone in PvE. If this change is not enough, we will address it again in a future release, either by requiring a greater height differential. Yeah, that would be a big change. Because right now you can if you're just like a little bit higher in PvP, like you're on a ramp and you're 2 meters higher than the other guy, it's like an FU level damage buff. Which cannot be so easily triggered in PvP or by greatly reducing the damage bonus against players as a whole. That would be fine for either of them. There's a war happening in chat. Welcome to Twitch. Dealing damage to a player with a primary weapon now only grants a single stack of the damage buff. Dealing damage with a special weapon or against combatants continues to grant maximum stacks. Got it. Okay. Okay, that's a good start. I feel like there might be more, because you can still ramp up the stacks, especially if you're in trials. You're on like a higher ramp, you're shooting multiple people. I still think it'll be problematic for the near future. I think they're going to have to go in for round 2. Just one man's prediction. Time L change should have increased the height. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be enough. I'm not sure this is going to be enough. Only one way to find out. If they don't get to a round 2 change by the time Iron Banner rolls around, high ground bygones will be what I use to farm Iron Banner with. Explosive payload was nerfed when we originally made into the light weapon sandbox changes as part of our efforts to reduce forgiveness of primary weapons, but the nerf was heavy-handed and overly punishing on a great many weapon types where the perk was not problematic. When we rolled these changes back into the base weapon stats, we did not have a good way to adjust the perk correspondingly, so we shipped it in Revenant in its fully unnerfed state while we investigated better options. We have since been able to add more tuning levers and have reduced the efficacy of the perk only on legendary hand cannons. Boo. Which allows the perk to continue to work on other weapon types and exotics like Sunshot. Reduced splash damage from the perk when used on legendary hand cannons by 7% against players only. Woof. All right, I get it. Telesto. As you might expect, Telesto has a lot of custom tuning going on under the hood. And when we did the all-up fusion rifle tuning for Revenant, it was unfortunately missed in the kerfuffle. Corrected an issue where Telesto was doing less damage than intended in PvP. I doubt I'll use it, but okay, cool. Ariana's Vow. Ariana's Vow is another one-off weapon type that had its intrinsic damage buff incidentally removed with update 8.1.0. Fixed critical damage bug in PvP. Critical damage bug. Thorn and Lumina. These weapons have felt a bit power crept in PvP. Oh, please tell me you're going to buff Thorn. By the addition of the new mod system, so we wanted to test partially bridge the stat gap. Increased base stability by 5. Okay. They could have gone a little harder. I love Thorn. Love Thorn. Could have gone a little harder. I will take it, though. I will take it. Thorn buff mentioned. Hype in the chat. Let's go. More info. Just dropped. Hottest album of 2024 on D2 Twitter account. Raiju's harness. Planned tuning for December. Despite this hunter exotic working as intended, some of the Raiju's harness's new behavior has been confusing to unravel for players. So to make the benefits more evident, we will move up the floor on its super energy generation and lower the ceiling slightly. Overall, this should feel like a net increase in super energy gained. Though, sadly, these changes came together a little late to arrive next week. Ah, gotcha. So we'll be adding this tuning in a later patch, December, but we wanted to give you all the notes regardless. Retuned super energy granted by defeating arc debuffed combatants. Gotcha. Minors. Increased super energy granted from 0.3 to 1%. That's good. Majors. Increased super energy granted from 1.7 to 2.5%. Players. Increased super energy granted from 3.1 to 4%. Mini bosses and bosses decreased super energy granted from decreased from 4.5 to 4. Okay. Decreased amount of super energy granted for defeating arc debuffed combatants while Gathering Storm is being cast. Maximum total energy granted this way remains the same at 50%. Note, the lightning summoned by Raiju's harness on allies and enemies near the user will always apply status effects before dealing damage. One more additional note on Twitter from the D2 team. Starting next week, repeat solar ignition damage will be increased against all bosses except the Vespers host boss. That should return the damage to pre-Revenant functionality. Don't know if you missed the boat on that conversation, but there was a problem going on with ignition damage. Adjusted. GG. Let me know your thoughts on these changes down below. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.